Hello, Dyan here. Oh, sorry, Elf Dyan. Oh no, I'm a reindeer. I forget which hat I've got on. I'm here at Ranger Headquarters in my office. Apparently Alan has renamed it The Office, but it's mine because I stole it, as you all know. So I'm here. Hope you saw the sign they put up for me. The old bat is back. How rude. I put the sign actually. So anyway, while I'm here, I'm going to be doing lots and lots of exciting things. And I wanted to do a video about the paints. A little customer service sort of video on my paints. As you know, I have 12 paints. I have a black and white, and then I have 10 luscious colours. 10 for now. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, so I just want to talk to them a bit because, again, I told you in the last video about the inks that I'm actually sat near the customer service desk. So I get to see the sort of things that people are saying about the products. And one thing they've been saying has been about this. This has been going on a couple of months now. And this is the bubblegum pink, which is the beautiful pink, and it is the crushed grape. Now, these paints were released and we have had a problem with these two earlier on in the year. It's all resolved now, but I just want to talk about it. For some reason, there was some, I don't really understand it because I'm not the chemist. I'm just the monkey, not the organ grinder. So, but for some reason there was some ingredient in here which was reacting slightly different from the base, but it didn't react for a long time. So we suddenly had this situation where there was loads of paints and it went really thick. Some of them went a bit jellified. In England we would call it a bit plumongey. It's supposed to look like this. You can see that. Can you see how it's moving? It's very, very fluid. But some of them went very plumongey and jellified and thick. Now, you could use them. You could use them totally, oh, just spilled a bit, totally no problem at all. But it didn't look very good. So we were replacing them. And they were just from certain batches. So if you've got the paint that looks a bit thick, you can still use it. You just add water. You spritz some water in, you give it a mix, and all that's happening is the water is evaporating off. And you can still use them totally, but we've totally changed the formula and everything should be all right now. So I just wanted to go through that first, okay? So down to all these gorgeous colours. I usually say that I have 10 colours because I don't class black and white as a colour. To me, black and white are, they're not colours, they go with everything. So we have these 10 gorgeous colours down here. Now, my paint comes in this beautiful jar, comes in a big jar. Why? Because I wanted it to. Okay, I like a big jar so I can get my tools in there. I can put things like my spatula in, I can put my craft scraper, I can put my baby wipes straight in, and I tend to use a lot from the lid. I work a lot from the lid. When I'm stenciling, and I'll talk about these in a bit, I take the paint from the lid. Then you've got control of what you're doing. The downside to this is you have a big open area here. This jar is a big open area, and the wider the area, the quicker this will evaporate. The fluid in here, these are water-based paints. When they're open to the air for a lot, the water will evaporate off. That's how it always happens. When you buy a brand new pot of paint like that, there is no air in it. It's filled practically up to the top and it will stay fluid. The more you open it, the more you take the lid off and the more you use, the more this will evaporate off, and it will get thicker and thicker. You might have noticed as you're going down your jars, it will get thicker and thicker and thicker. So what I recommend is to replace the water that's evaporated. I recommend that you take your water mister, and on an evening when you've finished, you don't have to do this throughout the day, but when you've finished for that session for the day, just lightly spritz a couple of spritzers like this in. I'm not pouring in. Put your lid back on, give it a shake, and then it should be fine for the next time. And all you've done is replaced the water that's been taken out. Now, some people are concerned that it's going to change the formula of the paint. It's not going to change that formula at all. The water evaporates, we're putting the water back in. So we're not adding extra water, we're not, you know, it's not going to be really diluted. We're just replacing what has come out of it. Now, there's more chance of it going thicker when you are halfway down a jar, because that jar is half full then of air, and the more air, the more the water will evaporate off. So normally it's when it gets to about halfway, that's when I start adding bits of water, just when I've finished, and then it will always be quite fluid. When it gets right down to the bottom, it's not going to be fluid at all. But I like that because then it's like you're using the lid. So it's down in the bottom, you can get in and you can get every scrap of paint out of that jar. Okay, now if you live in a really arid area, really hot area, you're going to have to add water more than if you lived in Britain, like I do, where it's not particularly hot. Well, we do, no, it's hot in summer, the 5th and 6th of July. That's it. But no, it's quite nice, but it's not arid like it is here. Okay, so just spritz some of that water in there. People say, does it have to be distilled? It could be any water. It doesn't really matter. I once spritzed my soda water. My paint was all bubbly, so I wouldn't recommend that, but it was all I had at the time. Okay, so we'll go back down to the paints. I'm just going to do some quick basic colour theory really here, because a lot of people ask me. I tend to use the paints in threes, always have done, not sure why, but always have done. So I just want to go through some threes that coordinate together, okay? I did a blog post, let me think, I think it was about September. I did a little blog post and I put pictures of all these. So for example, these are a coordinated colour scheme. So on the blog post, you'll actually see a picture of them like that, with the names written underneath. And I've noticed classes, a lot of people have printed that out and brought it with them and they find it helpful. So I'm going to go through it here, but there is also that blog post as well. Because you need to start your backgrounds with a coordinating colour. It doesn't necessarily have to stay that way at the end, but I always start coordinating. If you start with colours that go really well together like this, even if you do it really badly, it's going to look good. If you start with colours that clash, then even if you do it really well, you're going to struggle a little bit. It's going to look a little bit jarring. And also, opposite colours can make a bit of brown. So I'll talk about complementary and opposite colours in a minute. But first of all, I'm just going to go through some of these. So the first one I did was lemon zest, fresh lime, and cut grass. Those colours go beautifully together. If I take that one out and pop this one on, so I've got the fresh lime, the cut grass, and now I've got London blue, you can see those colours go together. Also, I could have the vibrant turquoise. Vibrant turquoise would go in there nicely as well. I'm going to take the lime out, and then you can see I've got cut grass, vibrant turquoise, and London blue. They go beautifully together. Can you see, just taking one off and adding others on really simply. The two blues go with the crushed grape. The crushed grape, unlike in the inks where you have to be careful with crushed grape, it's much easier to use it in paints, because remember, with inks, one ink goes this way, one ink goes that way, and it makes this other colour. So it's much easier to use the crushed grape in with the paints there. So then what I could do is I could take out the turquoise and I could put pink. So I could have pink, the bubblegum pink, the crushed grape, and the London blue. Again, I cut the turquoise. Can you see? Because these are interchangeable. Blues are interchangeable. Greens are interchangeable. So I've got the bubblegum pink, the crushed grape, and the vibrant turquoise. I could then pop in the red. So I've got bubblegum pink, crushed grape, and the red. They go really nicely together. If I take the purple out, we could have pink, we could have orange in there. So we can have the squeezed orange, bubblegum pink, and postbox red. We could also, if we took the pink out, we could pop the brown. This is one of my favourite. A lot of people say, oh, I struggle with the brown, I'm not keen on the brown. But look how gorgeous it is there. It's absolutely gorgeous with that orange. And also with the pink. You see, because the pink is near red, red is the colour, so they go together. So that was squeezed orange, postbox red, and melted chocolate. And this one was bubblegum pink, postbox red, and melted chocolate. And then the last one really is, mind you, you could still, no, it's not the last one, so we could do this one for really nicely. Lemon zest, squeezed orange, and melted chocolate. And then the last one I was thinking of could be this one. So that would be a squeezed orange, postbox red, and melted chocolate. So do you see how many combinations? People have been asking me ever since they came out, when are you going to bring out more? When are you going to bring out more? When are you going to bring out more? Because you see how many combinations you can make there with those, okay? You can also mix your own colours. So if you want a blue, you want this blue to be a green but not quite, you can add some yellow to this and then you can make a yellow. So you can mix those all up together. Now when I ask people to pick some coordinating colours, they quite often get it wrong and they get upset, and I said, don't get upset. So where I would go orange, yellow and red, a lot of people will pick up orange, yellow and purple. Now to me it's obvious that they don't go, but to a lot of people it isn't. I just have an inbuilt colour. But what they're doing, I always say to people, don't be too hard on yourself, because what they're actually doing is picking an opposite. So they're thinking that they understand colour but they don't know why. So these are opposites. Now opposite colours, if you mix them together, make mud, they make brown. But if you put them together, they complement each other. So if you want the best colour to put with this to make it look fabulous, would be its opposite colour, which would be yellow. So when people do this and pick them, they're actually picking the complementary colour. So it's quite, once you get used to it, you're fine. There's only 3 main colours really that are opposite, and those are your primary colours. So it's your yellow, it's your red, and it's your blue. Okay, every other colour is made from these colours. So the opposite colour to yellow is purple. And when we say opposite on the colour wheel, it's a wheel. So if yellow's here, I can't remember where it is, if yellow's there, directly opposite is purple. Okay, so these are the ones that complement each other. So when you see me talking on videos about we can then bring a complementary colour in, it's the opposite. Now if you look, the lime is very similar to the yellow, so that could also be. So I always say these are the opposites in this one. Okay, so if we go to blue, the opposite colour to blue is orange, and see how nice they look together, but only as a complement. So also, because this is blue, this would be your opposite colour as well. So if you needed an opposite or a complement, this is what it would be, the blues and the orange. And then the last one that's really, really important is the red. And I always say this is really easy to remember what its opposite colour is, because it's Christmas. Red and green do not go well together, but look how beautiful they look sat next to each other. Okay, and again, it could be with this green, it doesn't really matter. So they are the 3 main colours there. And once you get that into your head, you'll be fine. When you know what you're doing, when you know what the rules are, then you can break them and you'll be great. As you all know, I break them all the time. But I do have an inbuilt colour monitor. I know it's surprising with what I wear, but I do actually, I can work colours, and I didn't realise how easy it came to me till other people started saying that they couldn't do it. So there's the 10 colours there. Now you can mix them together, but you can also mix them with other colours as well, with the white and the black. So if you wanted something to be more pastel, you would take some white, mix a little bit of red in, and you would have a pastel-y red. Okay, you can do that with any of those. Any of those will do it, but you take white and add a bit of colour. If you want them to be more earth tony, if you're more Tim's colourway, you would add a bit of black and that will deepen them. But this time you take the colour and you add a bit of black to it. Okay, so if you're making it lighter, you take the white and add the colour. If you're making it darker, you take the colour and you add the white. Okay, very, very simple there. So that's the colours. How do I apply them? There's loads of videos already out on of me applying. I do a baby wipe technique, I use a brayer, and that's called the brayering technique, would you believe? I do a blocking technique. And if you look on the Ranger website, they're all there. If you're not sure where to look, if you stumbled upon this by accident, if you're actually looking for lovely videos of cats, if you go to the rangerinc.com, and you'll see the designers there. And if you press on my picture and then go on, all the videos will be there, and you can see all these individual ones. But one of my favourite ways as well is with stenciling, and you can see I have all these here. And I'm always going around teaching with these, but people still put far too much paint on. So I just wanted to go over this again, how little paint you need to use on these. Now, I don't know if you can see, these have already got paint on. Now, they're not wet, look, because these were used yesterday, but look how soft. Can you see that? Look how soft they are. Now, if you used these with most people's paint, this will be rock hard now. This will be totally rock hard. You would have either had to take this off and wash it out, or you'd have had to throw it away. But because my paint is so fluid, and because I hardly have any paint in these to start with, then I can use them day after day after day, okay? So all of these, you can see, totally dry. There's nothing in them at all. I just want to get a new one to show you. This is the blending tool from Ranger. It comes in a pack. You get 2 in a pack, and you get 4 of these little extra foams. You can also buy extra packets of foam. This to me is the best thing. Oh, I love this for using my for the paint. And people keep saying to me, are you going to bring out your own tool? No, because it's done. Don't reinvent the wheel. I wanted my own paint because nothing worked like I wanted it to, but this is fabulous. I love these. You can get away with just using one and swapping them, but I get a bit messed up. So I have one for every colour. Okay, you might already have them. You might use them, say if you use Tim's Distress Ink, you might use them. So you might already have the handles, and then you just need to get some of the tops. Now these are round, the old ones that Tim still uses for his alcoholing. Oh, I can't say that. Let me have a cup of tea, hang on. Do you like this cup? Look at that. That's from my boys, Jim and Caesar in Texas, with the roses on. I love roses. Where was that? Oh yes, so the other ones were oblong. The problem with an oblong one, if you're going to do this and stencil, you're going to get lines. So that's what I like about this. You just go round and round, you don't get any lines. Because again, I'm not sure if you can see this, but the foam is actually bigger, it's wider than the tool. So when you press down, can you see it comes round? So it sort of cushions it, and then you get a really smooth design on there. Okay, my paints, I forgot to tell you, my paints are semi-opaque because I like layers. I like to build them up. So if I've got some of this, I like to see this over the top. I like to build those layers, but you can make them opaque. They're very, very fast drying. So you do one layer, you let it dry, and then you do your second layer. It's no good doing a thick layer because that won't work. And I've just actually been working, because I do work when I'm here sometimes, you know. I've just been doing, I'm not sure, the new swatch boards for the for CHA, because that's coming upon us quickly. Can you see here there's 2 colours? It's actually the same colour. So this is put on lightly, one colour, and then I took a stencil, placed it on the top, and I did a second coat through the stencil. And can you see how it stands out? So that's 2 coats. That's the difference. So when you look at this, it's not the same colour as the jar, but when you look up here, it is. So I like a nice thin when I'm layering, but you can always make it opaque as well. And the beauty is it dries so quickly. That is one of the benefits of my paint. I've gone through them before, but maybe I'll just recap. One, they dry so quick. I'm an art journalist, so I want to paint, shut the book, paint, shut the book, paint, shut the book. I'm very, very impatient. So they dry really quickly. They're very blendable, as you've seen. And that's because they're very, very fluid. Now, normally when you have something that's fluid, but blends really well, you normally lose the colour. As you can see, no. Packed with colour. It was really important to me that we had lots and lots of colour. So that works. Now, also, they're totally compatible with my inks, my ink spray. I don't have one on me at the moment. Isn't that weird? I don't have an ink spray on me. They're just round the other side of my desk. Some paints don't work with sprays because they have a bit of a sealer in, a bit of a resin, and so they dry, you spray on the top and they don't work. So they work perfectly with my inks. because it's really important to me. My inks are my first love. And this year I've concentrated on the paints quite a bit because they're new, and people said, do you not ink anymore? Oh yes. So now I've done so much with the paint. Next year I'll be back. Ink, paint together. Some of my favourite backgrounds are an inked background with paint layers, but I mix them all up and do all sorts together. But they work perfectly with that, and also they're very, very smooth, so they work really perfectly with my writing. Any pen, but you need to let them dry. People say to me all the time, my pen's broken. I say, you've used it before, the paint's dry. Oh no, it's dry. You need to leave it about 4 hours. You really do. I never, unless I'm in a class, it's very rare I write on anything the same day. So you've got to let this cure. It's a bit like your nail varnish. You think it's dry till you touch something and then it's not. So those are the properties of my paint there. And as I say, I use them in lots of different ways. So going back to, let me load one of these up to show you. I'll take, what did I take the colour off? The blue. I'll take the blue. So I take the lid, and I always work from the lid unless I'm needing a lot. Now, if I've used this, because by the time you've done this a lot, it's gone. Never pour it in. Put your lid back on, shake it up, give it a little tap, and use it from there. And this is how little paint I use. And I can't say this enough. Can you see the amount of paint on there? And then what I do is I come to the non-stick craft sheet. I come down and I go round in a circle and I blend it in. Now, can you see it's blending away to practically nothing, but it's blended all across here. This is what my craft sheet looks like. This is what I see a lot of people's craft sheets look like, because they've got so much paint. And I always say, if you can see the paint, you've got far too much on here. Now, it doesn't really matter how much you use, but if you put too much paint on here, one, it will squelch under your stencil and things like that. Let me get a little stencil to just show you. Let's get this one here. You see my little stencil? Ooh. I pinched one of Tim's Clip It Ups. It's fabulous, isn't it? It's not called, what's it called? Clip frame. Frame clip? Oh, I don't know. But anyway, I keep them all on here. So I'm just going to show you. But if you've got too much paint on here, when you do this, it's going to squelch underneath. And also, it will leach through here into this Velcro. The number of ones I've had to throw away after classes because this is full of paint. Paint dries rock hard. Eventually, it gets to the top and the Velcro, there's no Velcro there because it's just covered in paint. So, you know, people say, I want to use a lot of paint. That's fine, but if you want these to last, that's what you do, a little bit of paint. And that amount of paint, you will be amazed how far you can go with it. And also, because it's just a small amount of paint, I'm just going to do this corner. I can press harder in areas. This is dry, look at that, dry, and I've just done it. But can you see the shading? Can you see where it's darker, it's lighter? I've got little areas here. It's faded out. That's what I love. I don't like to see a big solid bit there. But I mean, I could go on and I could move over here. Let's have some in the bottom here. Can you see I have still got tons of paint on there? So I'm just going to leave that like that. And then if I wanted more, I could go back and add a bit. To clean your stencils, I clean with a piece of kitchen roll. I just fold it, and then look how easy it comes off. And do you know why it comes off so easy? Because I do it as soon as I've used it. If I'd have left it a couple of minutes, if I'd have carried on talking to you and then done it, it wouldn't have come off. Paint is permanent, okay? So I'll just clip that back up there. Oops. And then I just do this. I'll wipe it off there as well, okay? Now, if you've used too much paint, how do you get rid of it? One of the ways to get rid of it is like this. Okay, I take this at the end of a night, or if there is too much on, and I just, you can see there's hardly any on there, but that's what I do. I make the circles. I'll do them in pages, I'll do them on random tags. Sometimes there's just 3 colours on there, there's lots of colours on there. Can you see this? People are like, how on earth did you do that wonderful paint effect? Years. I've spent years training to get that. I actually went like that and twisted it and got the paint off. Okay, so cleaning them at the end of the day, there's a white one. That was the white one onto a dark. not just two things. It makes these soft so you can still use them, but also you get these really nice backgrounds. So that's what I would do. Or at the end of the day, if I don't want to make any circles, I just come to a corner somewhere and I just add, and that's about done now. If it starts to drag, you've done, because you'll just end up pulling the bits out of it. Okay, and then at home I have them all in a drawer, like a flat drawer thing, and I have these all like this, but in my office here I don't have those, so I just leave them like that. I don't put them in plastic bags, I don't wash them out. Obviously if I disappear and come back 5 weeks later, then they're rock hard, but most of the time they just sit like that. Okay, so there we go. I hope that's answered some of your queries on there. Look for the other videos on how to use them. Like I said, there's an introduction, which is more thorough than this. There's a baby wipe video, there's a brayer in with the paint, and there is a blocking technique with the paint, and loads of others as well. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing my anklets. Do you know, I forgot I had these on earlier. I went out. Alan didn't tell me. I felt a right fool. Well, there's nothing new, is there? Right, must get on. I'm very busy.